Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Shreveport, Brian Crawford. Hey, Brian, how are you today?
Good morning, folks. How are y'all?
What is Shreveport's Watergate? What's going on?
What's the dealio?
Interesting. Well, I think everybody has either read the story in the Times or seen on one of the channels what's going on. It comes down to the fact that, the city was provided some information that one of our water rates and the billing system was incorrect, and it was being underbilled. And they were provided this information from a company with a stipulation that we could not correct the situation until we met their demands for payment.
Pardon me, Brian.
Go ahead.
So the city of Shreveport inadvertently underbills water users to the tune of about $1 million, right?
Correct.
And then this consulting firm, this bunch of guys, I don't know, you can tell us who they are if you want. They call the mayor one day, for lack of a better way of putting it, and they say, we've got some information that we think you should know. And you say, well, what's that? And they say, well, how much will you give us? Or did they actually say, give us X? Do I understand that correctly?
That's pretty much correct. The way that it was presented to us was first, which is what gave us great concern, because now we have 3 or 4 different scenarios. An actual company, an engineering firm, came to us and said, hey, we've discovered this error in your billing system. We want you to pay us X amount of dollars and give us a contract, or you can't fix it. So they brought us an issue that said, you're violating your law, and we're going to tell you what that violation is in your billing system. But, oh, by the way, we're going to hold you hostage, and you can't fix it until you meet our demands for payment.
Pardon me, Brian. If they were not currently being employed by the city, what were they doing looking at all our water bills?
Well, good question. So now it goes even further. So we're dealing with a company. First, the company backs out of the picture. We get a letter from an individual who doesn't live in our state and says, hey, no, I'm the person who discovered the error in the water bill, and I want my money. And if I don't get my money, I'm going to make this public. So kind of like a shakedown thing, kind of a threat that, you make of it what you will, but the mayor took it as a threat. At that point, she's backing completely. I said, this doesn't sound right. It doesn't smell right. And Mayor Tyler, she's not going to be backed into a corner. And so we knew this was going to be public. We weren't afraid of it coming out. We're perfectly fine with that. We're in a very good position. And so then we learn from the Times article, the first time we've heard another name, a local businessman. Now, he says he's the one that discovered the error in the bills, and he wants to get paid. And from the explanation I could tell was he looked at his water bill and decided something's not quite right. Now, Robert and Aaron, I'm going to ask you, when you see your water bill and you think something's wrong with it, what's the first thing you do?
Call the water department.
Yeah.
You would think so. But this individual apparently doesn't do that. He just thinks, okay, something's wrong with my water bill. I'm not paying enough. So I'm going to study my bill and 500 other friends and family bills. Yeah, that's what was reported in the paper.
I smell a rat.
And then I'm going to determine that I'm getting underbilled. So instead of calling the city and being a good citizen and saying, hey, you guys aren't billing right, this group stepped back and said, how can we profit from this on the backs of the citizens? And then it even gets a little bit more interesting. And at this point, we started an internal investigation because the billing system is pretty involved and it's pretty intricate. And unless you have some detailed background and knowledge, it's pretty hard to look at your water bill and discern what is what. And so then we learned that a number of these individuals, both from the attorney who first represented him to some of the other individuals, have had either former employment or ties previously to the city. So at that point, this is over our heads as far as investigative powers go, and the mayor calls in the Justice Department. And
that's what I want to ask you. It sounds like there may be criminal charges. Is that coming?
Well, we're not a law enforcement agency. I mean, we have the police department, but that's why we brought in the Justice Department. They brought in the FBI. And we're going to have this thoroughly looked at because it's hard to fathom that just a random citizen out there would have stumbled across this information, and we're trying to determine who inside the city had access to this information as well.
Yeah, who gave them all the info?
So,
there's an insider helping?
A billing system that you described as detailed and intricate, And evidently all these people have all this information about your flawed, detailed, and intricate system.
All of these former employees are some type of relationship with the city.
Are you looking for a mole?
Well, I'm going to leave that up to the law enforcement agencies. We're looking to get to the bottom of it. We're looking to get the truth. But the main thing that I want to emphasize is that, Mayor Tyler stands up for the citizens. She's not going to be bullied. She's not going to be, whatever you call it, shaken down for payment on something that, whatever type of error, whether it was a computer glitch or whether it was human error. The system was actually set in place even before this administration came in. And so it's something that we inherited. But as soon as we learned about it and it was brought to our attention by the original company, now it's interesting enough, they completely backed out, and they have no part of this other group now that is on their media tour trying to explain why they're trying to take $1.8 million now. Their original demand was $250,000. Now they want $1.8 million of citizens, taxpayers, your and my money.
Has the billing issue been fixed?
Yes. As soon as we were made aware, and this goes back to the beginning of the discussion, as soon as we were made aware of the billing issue, of course, the mayor was brought into the discussion, and she said, hey, they have brought to us that we're in violation of one of our own laws. We can't be held hostage to paying them some type of ransom, giving them a contract before we fix this error. We've been notified that we are in breach of our own law. We verified it first, which took a little while because we had to run a couple of billing cycles over the summer, and verified, yes, in fact, we were not billing at the correct tiered rate. And
pardon me, Brian, just we got less than a minute. Just one final question. According to the mayor, did I see that right? You're not going to go back and bill the people the difference.
There's no plan in going back because it's a year and a half of billing. Even though it adds up to $1 million, we're not going to go back to it. Let me add one more thing here because I got a minute left. You got to question these people's motivation too here, because they have also, instead of, if me and you have a disagreement, and we have disagreements with companies and something all the time, and sometimes we end up in court and the judge decides who's right, who's wrong. They've decided to try and do what they're doing with the media tour, and they've also called the State Bond Commission to report us to the State Bond Commission in an attempt to derail some of our bond funding, so this underfunding may affect that. Well, let me tell you what. We've already talked to the State Bond Commission. We've talked to their staff. We've talked to our bond writers. This doesn't have anything to do with our ability to go out for bond and fix water and sewer rates. That is determined strictly on auditable figures. So their plot there of trying to harm the city and the citizens in another way indirectly has failed as well.